name is Michael James Taylor. I'm a pianist, teacher, composer, and Beethoven lover. That was an excerpt from Sonata Number 27, Opus 90 in E minor. What I want to discuss in this video is technique, and how important it is to keep your fingers, wrists, hands loose, arms during performances, even if it's a short excerpt or a concerto or whatever, a prelude by Chopin, or even a rock and roll piece by Led Zeppelin. Whatever medium it is that you play, whatever genre it is that you play at home, it's important to execute proper technique. The best musicians in the world have the best sound because they have the best technique. So when we listen to a pianist like Oscar Peterson or Andras Schiff, the clarity, the roundness in their sound, the dynamics, the freedom, and I mention those two because they're two of my favorites. Peterson, of course, a jazz monster, no longer alive, and Schiff, literally my favorite interpreter of Beethoven, right up there with Alfred Brendel and Rudolf Serkin. Not a huge Schnabel fan. I do not like his Beethoven at all. It's too fast. I do not like Ritger's Beethoven. I do like Rubinstein's. I don't care for Ashkenazi's Beethoven. Anyway, the point is that what I'm trying to explain here is technique. So when I get ready to approach this number 27, first of all, it's got gigantic chords at the beginning. It's kind of a call and response. Here we have big loud chords, and then we have a reply, and then we have loud chords, we have a reply. We hear this all the time in Beethoven's music. And later on in that same movement, Pathétique, and much later on, so the point is that you have to stay, your fingers have to stay loose, your hands have to stay loose, your wrists have to stay loose during performances. I just started working on that one last weekend. Anyway, let's talk about how to release tension in your hands, because this is something that took me years to develop, and I don't think enough teachers take appropriate time to really go over what it means to relax your hands. A lot of them will explain in a video. I've watched several YouTube videos. I'm a subscriber to several videos, and I love their tutorials, but they don't get down to the basics of technique in a lot of these videos. This is a simple thing. Watch this. That right there. You see what I did, everybody? You see how I naturally bring my finger back? This is technique right here. What this does is, as soon as I do this, by the way, I think of my finger, any finger, using my right pointer, like she's a ballerina and she's going on her toes. We first want to stroke the key back and lightly bring up the wrist and almost curve over the hand again. And what this does, every single time I do this, it loosens my wrist, and my wrist is looser, so are my fingers, and I'm able to play different passages at different speed without really... That was way too fast. But the point is, my fingers are feathery light when I'm playing. So another way to release tension from your hands is to, before you play the first few moments, take a breath in. As you're breathing in, your wrists slightly go up. They lift from the keys. And then when you exhale, they float down across the keys as if they're floating down on a couple of clouds. I'm going to take another breath in. This time you'll be able to hear it. Holding about here, I'm holding my breath, and then exhaling. This is a good way to release the tension in your hands before you start playing. I'm a teacher. I want you to learn how to release the tension in your hands. When you get more accomplished, when you get older, you will actually start to notice that you can develop little sweat like droplets on your fingers and on your hands, and these are good things. Right now my fingers are quite dry, After a practice routine, or if I'm working on a sonata or whatever it is, even demonstration during lessons, what I've noticed is that my fingers start to accumulate sweat and it starts to leave a bit of a residue on the keys. This is a good thing because without that residue, there's a lot of friction here against the keys, right? So with that little bit of sweat, that little bit of oil that my fingers produce actually helps lubricate the keys and in turn makes my sound even better and even purer and makes it easier to play things. Especially really difficult passages. I noticed that it's better to just kind of let your hand do what it has to do than it is to over-concentrate. Sorry. I do not sound like Schiff. I didn't warm up yet today. But the point is that my right hand's an autopilot. I'm not really thinking about it. It started to tense up where I stopped. I need to practice this morning. If I feel tension, I know I'm not doing something right, and I either immediately stop like I just did, or I try to adjust and correct it during my performance. This is not the time to do that, though, because this is really just a tutorial video. So again, releasing the tension from your hands before you play the instrument and during passages is so vital. I already played that section. Let me, see that? It wasn't perfect. That's okay. I'm not worried about executing it perfectly. What I want you to notice is that my fingers are light and airy the entire time. Even if I make mistakes, my fingers are still doing things. Especially here. See that? When I get to that passage, I lift up my fingers like I showed you before. This helps keep my wrist loose. This is such an important thing because Beethoven's music is crazy. Wow. Times when students get ready to play the Pathetique Sonata, their left hand is louder than their right. And that's because they're not using proper technique. If you have any strain in your left hand, it's going to be louder than the right hand. And this happens often in Beethoven's music where we need the right to be clearer than the left. Yes, and I know I'm not playing the tenths. I decided not to play the tenths. He wrote it in octaves as well as an appropriate approach to the movement. Yes, he did write it out in octaves. Yes, it is in Beethoven's handwriting. All right. Anyway, so in case anyone questions me, I don't think they will though. Anyway, so that's kind of basically it for the tutorial right now. I'm going to do several more of these, but again, I don't know. I love the piano, and it became necessity. The technique really is so important. So important. So important. You have to learn how to, even if you're playing something really simple. See what I'm doing? Right? Even if you're just playing a C scale. Your fingers should be loose and feathery the whole time. Okay, kids, have a great day. Bye.